Narcissists get to live these extreme double lives because people don't actually understand what narcissism is. Narcissism at its core simplified is just extreme shame disorder. These people are very insecure and cannot regulate their own nervous system, so they use others for that. How do they do that? Well, all narcissists are avoidants, but not all avoidants are narcissists. What does that mean? Avoidants project how they feel about themselves onto their partners when they're insecure subconsciously. Whereas the narcissist, since they're always insecure, projects how they feel onto their partner with the intent to control them. But since they have to maintain the mask they created, and they cannot feel smaller than somebody, the mask is covered with grandiosity and entitlement. Since it's a personality disorder, these people cannot change, because changing would require looking in at themselves, and looking in at themselves would activate their shame wound, and then their shame wound would make them be dysregulated, and when they're dysregulated, they start to lash out, and when they lash out, there goes their public image. That's why narcissists only live in environments they can control, where they surround themselves with very empathetic, naive people. But since it's a personality disorder, they're bound to a pattern that is very self-serving and manipulative. In turn, the outcome is just so that they can get what they want, since they're very opportunistic people, so they're very easy to spot. So the first stage of a narcissistic relationship is mirroring. This is where they look like they're the perfect listener, but it's actually just to listen to figure out what kind of mask they need to create to be around you. The second stage is isolation. This is where the narcissist is trying to figure out how easy you are to manipulate and how far you'll go for them, because they really only like empathetic, overgiving people. A good indicator in this stage to know if someone is a narcissist is if they mention anything about your friends. Like if they say they don't want you to tell your friends about what's going on in the relationship because they don't want them to hate them. That's just an attempt to control the way that they're perceived. They don't actually care, because everyone knows if you don't do dumb shit, there's nothing to say. Once they figure out that you're really easy to manipulate, here comes stage 3, which is idealization. This is where they treat you like you're on top of the world and put you at the highest highs. At this point, you feel amazing and you're happy. But since they're naturally insecure people, this is where they start to take that happiness away from you. This stage is called the white knight method. The white knight method is where someone creates a problem that they're the solution to. So when it comes to a narcissist, remember how I said in the beginning, during the mirroring stage, they listen to you? Well, they were listening to your vulnerabilities to see how they can use it against you. So let's say your vulnerability is that you have trust issues. They're going to bring a third party into the situation. That way, when you question them about it, they're going to call you insecure. And being a neurotypical, you're going to think you need to work on that insecurity to trust your partner, when in reality, they're actually doing those things. This is a way they maintain control over you. Remember how I said during the isolation stage, they want you to keep the problems between the two of you? Well, after the white knight method stage, where they bring the problem in, they use triangulation, which is where they're telling other people what they're doing, but saying it as if you're the one doing it to them. This is a way for them to save face and keep that good public image so that people don't actually think they're these abusive pieces of shit, which leads into the fourth stage, which is devaluation. At this stage, they realize that you're not going to be manipulated anymore and you're not giving them a reaction, so they need to go find someone new. How are they going to do that? Well, they're probably going to cheat. They're probably going to bring someone else into the relationship. But since they used triangulation earlier on, all the people around them are going to feel like you're this bad person. That way, when it comes to the fifth stage, which is the discard, they don't look like the piece of shit they actually are. At this point, if the narcissist still thinks you're a threat, then they do something called a smear campaign. This is where they destroy your public image to discredit you from ever speaking out against them. That way you look like the crazy one. Why do they do this? Because it's an attempt to still control you, even after you've left the relationship. Because narcissists are specialists when it comes to reactive abuse. They know how to make their victims act out. And when you act out, they set you up. That way you actually look like this crazy person that they described.